welcome to Podvincible, a podcast about Invincible, the comic book that is now being made into a adult animated show on Prime Video. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin, the adult.
I'm Pete. I thought this was Kurt Mania.
Oh, man. Well, this is the first episode. This is the preview episode. If you don't know us, we do a live show every Tuesday night about comic books called Comic Book Club. We've been doing that for almost a decade and a half now, virtually for about, I'd say, the past year or so for no particular reason. And we've done a bunch of spin-off TV podcasts as well. Riverdale After Dark, our Riverdale podcast, Watchmen Watch, our Watchmen podcast. Currently, we have a Marvel podcast called Marvel Vision. And now we're doing one for Invincible. We've been fans of the title for a very long time, which I'm sure we can talk about in a second. But we figured we'd do this here. And there's been a lot of debate about what to call the show. We want to go with Podvincible. Pete wants to go with Kirk Media. I guess we'll just say a new title each episode. What do you think?
How about a new idea? How about we call punching holes through people? Because that's a big part of Invincible.
Mm-hmm. Podvincible, the Invincible Punchcast.
That's pretty good. I kind of wanted to go for Mustache Talk, personally.
Interesting.
But I feel like maybe that implies something different.
Yeah, definitely. It's a crossover.
Creepy
getting into other different, put your fingers in some different pies. If you know what I'm talking about.
So to speak. Now, Invincible was a comic book from Image Comics by Cory Walker, Ryan Ottley, and Robert Kirkman for probably started around the same time that our live show started, right?
I think that's true.
Yeah. And we were fans of it from the very beginning. Do you guys have a favorite part of the comic, something that immediately comes to mind?
I mean, just
punching holes through people.
For me, it's mustaches. Go ahead, Justin.
The Podvincible part, I really like the very beginning of Invincible. I thought was just so great, capturing that sort of origin of Spider-Man style storytelling, except plussing it up into like a much more ultra-violent bloodfest, which felt like taking something we all love in comic books and then elevating it to our more violent modern times, I guess you could
turning it up to 11.
You're turning it up.
Now, for anybody who is happening to tune into this podcast but has never read Invincible, I think we need to be very careful with spoilers when we're talking about things. But one of my absolute favorite things is I think it's the first 12 or 13 issues maybe that are just this phenomenal story, phenomenal package, huge twists that just redefine the whole thing. And I'm very excited to see how they execute it on TV, particularly because Robert Kirkman is behind the series the same way that he was behind the comic book. So I think we're going to get that.
Kurt Mania. I think that it's one of those things where there's also a really great love story in this, which I'm excited to see how this is portrayed.
The way that hand falls in love with the insides of that dude when it goes in and punches right through. Is that what you're speaking of, Pete?
No, I'm talking about Eve.
Now, yes, Adam Eve. Well, we can get into the cast a little bit because this cast is wild that they have assembled for the show. Stephen Yeun, who played Glenn on Walking Dead and has gone on to be a movie star in his own right, is
J. Jonah Jameson is in it.
Well, hold on. I'm going to get there. He's playing Mark Grayson, Invincible, who's this regular kid who finds out that he has superpowers just like his dad, as Pete was mentioning. Played by J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, Mr. Counterpart himself, as we all call him.
Oh, yes. Stars counterpart heads, light up. It's time to get crazy.
And he plays a hero called Omni-Man, who's kind of that universe's Superman, that doesn't have exactly all of those powers.
I thought he was just teaching somebody how to play drums this whole show. Is that not this?
This is part of the Whiplash extended universe.
Oh, good.
Yes, exactly. But other folks, and I'm going to read through a bunch of these names really quickly because this really is a crazy cast. You got Sandra Oh, Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, Jillian Jacobs, Andrew Reynolds, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Jason Mantzoukas, Mae Whitman, Chris Diamantopoulos, Carrie Payton, Zachary Quinto, Melise Zhao, Kevin Michael Richardson, Greg Griffin, Max Berhalter, Lauren Cohan, leading to a little bit of a Glenn Maggie reunion. Sonequa Martin Green, Chad L. Coleman, Michael Cudlitz, basically the entire cast of The Walking Dead, Letty James, Ross Marcotte, Mahershala Ali, Michael Dorn, Ezra
Blade's
Miller,
going to be
Brown,
in this?
Yeah, Nicole Byer, Jeffrey Donovan, Jonathan Groff, John Hamm, Jimon Hansu, and Justin Roiland. That's just some of the people who are going to be on the show.
And you know,
when crazy
hearing that list, and when it was included in the back of the end of the trailer, it's like, wow, that's so crazy. And then you think about the Invincible comic series, and the cast of that comic it's huge. There's so many different super teams, super villains, all these different people that Invincible encounters over the course of the series, and it makes me feel like they're really going to hit a lot of those story arcs.
Right. Go ahead, Pete.
Did you say Michael Chiklis? Was that one of the names you said?
I did not
say That's the only name he didn't say. That's crazy that you picked that out.
I did say Michael Cudlitz is who who played Abraham on The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
No, he's great too.
Yeah, they're all great. It's all good stuff. I agree with you, Justin. This is, if you haven't read the comic, it takes place in this world with tons of superheroes, huge amount of superheroes, huge amount of very creative supervillains as well. So I imagine it's the sort of thing where it's pretty easy for somebody to be like, yeah, I'll jump in and say one line. I'm a friend of yours, Robert Kirkman. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Plus, as you mentioned as well, Justin, lots of people die all the time. So you could bring somebody in for 2 lines, they get their head chopped off, and that's it.
That's
great.
I
think Nicole Byer's just coming in and doing blood sound effects, I believe, mostly. A lot of us, yeah.
Oh, stop.
I'm auditioning for the job.
Yeah, throw your name on the list right at the end.
Now, the other thing that I think is interesting about this is that this is a hour-long adult animated show on Prime Video, which seems
how many
apps?
Up
8, Pete.
8. Okay. All right.
Yeah, there's going to be 3 on the first day, and then it's going to be 1 a week every week after that. So it'll be over the course of 6 weeks.
Great cadence.
Mm-hmm. But this seems to be picking up, I would say, on The Boys in particular and the success of that universe. Do you think it's going to pick up the same audience, or do you think they're going to say, animated, no thanks?
Oh, no, I think it's going to be right there, especially like The Boys and Invincible were contemporary comic series. Like, I feel like if you're aware of The Boys just from a comic books viewpoint, you're going to know Invincible, and you're probably going to jump right on board. And The Boys, especially season 2, was a wild success. And I think Invincible, the team behind that must have felt pretty good seeing how great the season 2 of The Boys were.
It's also going to be interesting to see, like, as far as the animation, like, it looks like it's very similar to the comic book, straight out of the comic book, and to see like what they're going to do as far as staying very true to the comic, or are they going to be going off? Or
it feels like the amount of blood at the back end of this trailer is strong. This is going to be the show that a parent's like, oh yeah, go watch your cartoon, young child. And then they're going to walk in like 20 minutes later and be like, holy shit, turn this off. What are you watching? And that's, as a parent, I could say I can't wait for that moment.
Yeah, but to your point, Pete, a lot of the stuff often feels farmed out to somebody. It doesn't look like the comic, but at least from the trailer, from this footage, it does seem like they're channeling Ryan Otley and Corey Walker as much as possible, which I think is great.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm very, any anxiety?
I mean, just because, I'm just, it would suck if it doesn't feel like the comic book, you know what I mean? But, you know, maybe if they're trying to do something different, maybe that'll be kind of part of the split away, you know. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the Kirk media is huge, you know. There's just the amount of comics, the amount of content that one person has put out into the world, you know. He's got fans, so the numbers should be good for this show. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like.
As long as they have Science Dog, as long as Science Dog is there, I'm going to be happy. That's my main thing.
Nice deep cut.
Yes. All right. I think we could probably wrap up here for this preview episode. Mostly we are putting this up to set up the show and also get the good old feeds going for Podvincible, Kirkmania, punching holes through people, mustache talk,
Punchcast.
I think we'll go with Podvincible. That's going to be rolling out very soon, so be sure to subscribe to that and rate it when it's live. In the meantime, you can check out our live show, Comic Book Club, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast on YouTube. Support us at patreon.com/Comic Book Club. We'll have some social stuff as well. I guess you can follow us at Comic Book Live on Twitter. In the meantime, until we have Podvincible stuff all set up, we'll see you next time on whatever this podcast is called.